In to talk about Providence and Villanova now is Kevin McNamara from KMAC Sports, as well as WPRO, host of the Kevin Mac Sports Hour from 6 to 7, Monday to Friday. KMAC, you've been covering this team since 1990. The Friars are now the 8th best team in the country, according to all the voters. You included get a vote in that AP Top 25 poll. Really big game coming up Tuesday night, 8 o'clock at the Dunk. Let's give it some historical context first before we break down the matchup and we dive into the X's and the O's. How big of a game is this for the program that hasn't really been in the top 10, in the last 5 years?
No, there's no question, Morey. I think people need to appreciate what this team has done so far. Obviously, college basketball is all about the NCAA tournament when you're with this high cotton like this. And we'll see how that plays out. But this regular season is as good as the Friars have really ever had. Certainly the best regular season in Big East history. So that's going on, almost 40 years. And, a top 10 matchup, it does not happen often for Providence. It very rarely happens. It's only the second top 10 matchup at Providence in the history of the program. The last one was just 5 years ago when Ben Bentel and Chris Dunn were playing. They were 10th. They played Xavier in a great game. Xavier was 7th and came in and beat Providence. So, Providence has a chance this could be their first win in one of those top 10 matchups.
Would you call this the biggest regular season game in program history with Providence being in the Big East?
I would. I would say that. Biggest in the Big East era, I would say this is the most important home game because Providence has never won the Big East regular season championship. In excellent position right now, could be in really good position if they can knock off Villanova tomorrow night. I do see Villanova as the only other team that can make a run at them.
So we obviously saw what the Dunkin' Donuts Center and the crowd brought on Saturday night against DePaul. A 60-degree day. It was, I think it was accepted Students Day as well. So there was not one seat left in the house. There's not going to be one seat left in the house Tuesday night. Talk about the impact and the crowd that plays on this game.
Yeah, I think the other night was more of a party scene. I saw that after the big snowstorm when Marquette came in on a Sunday afternoon. That was like people couldn't wait to get out. It was fun. It was the other night, again, 60 degrees. I think there was a few parties, pregame parties for the 6 o'clock on a Saturday. Tomorrow night, I think it's going to be more of a nervous excitement and, a real buzz in the building because it's a real basketball game, a big-time basketball game. And Villanova is the top dog in the league now for a decade. I think Providence, if they can get out early and put the pressure on Villanova versus the other way around, the Friars have had a lot of good starts through this season. They have not had a lot of good starts in the last 2 weeks, but yet they keep winning.
All right, so you cover the Big East at large, and you know this league as good as anybody. So for the Providence fan that has been focused on PC's rise to the top 10 and necessarily hasn't maybe looked around the league or maybe, around college basketball, with the calendar flipping to March soon and we're getting close to the last few games here in Big East play, can you wrap up Villanova's season so far to this point?
Yeah, Villanova played, I think, the most difficult non-conference schedule in the country. They went out to UCLA. They played Baylor. They played Tennessee. They've had a really, really difficult schedule. Not as talented as the high-end Villanova teams, the national championship teams of the last, 6 years, but they still have great senior leadership, somewhat similar to Providence. Colin Gillespie is, I like to say, he's been at Villanova so long, they've already named a dormitory after him. Preseason player of the year in the Big East. He's actually not as good as the last couple of years. He had a very bad knee injury at the end of last year. I think that's taken a little bit away from him, but he's certainly still one of the top 5 players in the league. Justin Moore is a physical scoring guard. He's a real concern. Inside, Eric Dixon has come on a lot for Villanova. That was their weakness, Morey, in the first, I'd say, 2 months of the season. Didn't have that go-to guy inside, didn't protect the rim defensively as well as they can. They have been in the last 2 weeks. This Villanova team has definitely shifted the right way and is pointed toward March.
So I think that's where we can start, K-Mac, when we dive into it. I think PC has the advantage down low, especially with Nate Watson. It's been boom or bust. When he's been really good, the Friars have been good. He's also thrown in, a few games there where he hasn't reached double digits in points. Knowing that he has the experience, knowing that he's older than Eric Dixon has played well of late. Do you see, though, the Friars going through their big man to maybe set the tone early?
Well, every game I think the Friars need to go inside early. They don't, for whatever reason. And when they get behind, all of a sudden, feed Nate, feed Nate, feed Nate, and the game turns. I'd like to see that right off the top because Villanova is very thin. They don't have the depth that Providence has. If you can get Eric Dixon or Brandon Slater into foul trouble, those are the only real high-end big guys that they have. Noah Horkler and his rebounding is going to be a real, issue in this as well. But defensively, it's all about how you defend Gillespie. Gillespie is a very crafty kid. He's great in the post, for a 6'2", 6'3" guard. He likes to back his guy down. If that's Jared Bynum, that's a mismatch because he would have, 4 inches and maybe 30 pounds on Jared. So really interesting to see how Ed Cooley defends Villanova.
And as far as Justin Minaya and who he matches up with, who do you see him trying to slow down tomorrow against Villanova?
I personally would love to see him on Gillespie, but I think he'll be on Justin Moore. Justin Moore's physicality, he's a really strong guard. I think that's a good matchup for Justin.
All right, and then if we look at Providence offensively, Ed Cooley said that Al Durham almost didn't play Saturday against DePaul. He's been dealing with an injury now for the last couple weeks. How big of a factor is that K-Mac going in for the Friars, even if Durham does play, but not at 100%?
Well, I think he hasn't played at 100% for about 2 weeks now. They just need him to play. They just need him to walk to the free throw line for the last 5 minutes of the game because the kid doesn't miss. I mean, it's unbelievable. So if I think they backed off on Al Durham in practice. I think they could conserve some minutes in first halves of games, but in the second half and in winning time, they need Al Durham on the floor for sure.
What do you like most about the Al Durham and Jared Bynum duo when they are on the court together? Because it does allow Durham to do a few different things, as well as Bynum, who's been their best scoring guard of late.
Yeah, I like Al Durham with the ball in his hands when the opposition's best ball pressure is up in him. It does back him off a little bit. If we can shift that to Bynum, that gets Durham in more of an attack mode from the wing. And that's where he gets to the foul line. Providence as a team gets the foul line in the top 10 in the country. They do an awful lot of their damage from the free throw line, and obviously the majority of it is with players like Bynum and Durham because they have the ball in their hands in the last 5 games. And opponents haven't figured out how to change that tune.
A.J. Reeves missed 5 games due to injury. He's been slow to get back into it and find his shot the last 3 games. He's got to be a crucial factor for PC, you would say, offensively and defensively as a long 6'5", 6'6" wing.
Yeah, I think AJ needs to take better shots. His shot quality can get better. He takes some forced shots. He takes some shots early in the shot clock. I think Providence could run some stuff for AJ Reeves so he has open looks where he can set his feet and see what he can get going. And I think he's the type of kid with one game could totally turn his season in a positive direction. He really has not had a good game, a productive game offensively since he returned from the broken finger. And, there's some time to kill here. Like you said, March is around the corner, but, Providence has 3 more weeks of the regular season. No better time than Tuesday night against Villanova for AJ Reeves to knock down some threes.
No, definitely. And he was playing the best basketball of his career before that injury. He was really showing, he could score at all 3 levels, put the ball on the deck a little bit, get to the foul line. And then once you see a couple of foul shots go in, maybe that helps you, the next time that you are out there on the wing and you have some space to let it fly. As far as your 2 or 3 keys maybe for PC, I know you talked about a fast start, setting the tone, letting the crowd get into it. Anything else that you see is crucial for Ed Cooley's squad come Tuesday?
Well, my number one key for Providence throughout this run has been to take more free throws. Team, or even better, they've done it so well, they've made more free throws than the other team has attempted. So it's just been a dominating performance from the free throw line. That's number one. Number 2, I would like to see Nate Watson get off early, be an impact player early. And this year it's really been Nate Watson / Ed Croswell. The combination of the 2 at center has been as good as anyone in the Big East. And number 3, can Jared Bynum keep it up? He's the Big East player of the week 2 weeks running. Well, now he's going to go against the best point guard in the Big East in Collins. So it'll be really interesting.
If PC can get it done Tuesday, they have a favorable matchup Sunday against Butler, albeit on the road. Then they come home for 2 games. if they take care of business Tuesday, could you see the Big East maybe potentially being wrapped up before they even have to go down to Finner and Pavilion to end the regular season?
I can. If Providence can win this one, obviously they'd be favored at Butler. Difficult game, but they'd be favored at Butler. Then they have Creighton at home and Xavier at home. Obviously, two really difficult games, but Providence is undefeated at home this year. Again, last game of the regular season at Villanova. There's a chance that the regular season crown is secured by then, which is just crazy talk, but it's definitely possible.
Friars have a chance to win their first ever Big East regular season championship. It all starts tomorrow night, Tuesday, 8 o'clock at the Dunk. We will have live coverage for you on WPRI 12. Also, check out KMAC's work on kevinmaxsports.com.